Welcome to the podcast, everybody. We've got a great week coming up for you guys. Beautiful morning here in Pittsburgh. I'm actually recording bright and early on a Wednesday morning instead of late on a Tuesday night. Got some nice sleep last night, ready to roll, feeling good. First off, I want to thank people for reaching out and providing some feedback early on, mainly on social media. I know certain things are a little bit rough around the edges, but constantly working to try and get that stuff better. As far as the content goes, we've had mostly great feedback so far, so that's greatly appreciated, and just trying to get better every time we do this. We've got a nice big week for you guys this week, filled with some great products coming out. First thing we want to hit is the Blake's Rainbow Seeker. It releases on Friday. That's going to be in draft as well as 12-ounce cans. It's a pineapple cider from their Kinder rotating cider series. Honestly, one of my favorite releases that they do. I've kind of grown into cider the last year or so. I mean, I always liked drinking it, but really kind of become a cider fan here in the last year or so, and this is definitely one of my favorites. Our team has put a lot of work into kind of pre-selling this one and building up some buzz the last month or so, so you should see it out in pretty nice force at least by early next week, but again, it'll be releasing on Friday. We're going to have some release events. Those will probably be hitting social media later today on Wednesday afternoon to start to kind of update you where you can get that. There'll be some stacks. There'll be a couple draft events. So we're really excited about that one. Really kind of welcoming in the warm weather. It's a great cider, so that's exciting. We also have some brand new releases from Maine Beer Company, or a brand new release from Maine Beer Company that will be releasing Friday as well. This is going to be their Spring IPA. This one will be available only in bottles to start out. We do expect to have draft at some point. We don't have it now, but this one will be releasing in bottles on Friday as well. This is a description from Maine. Spring is our take on an American IPA, tailored to days when we start looking forward to warmer weather. Utilizing Cascade, Amarillo, Simcoe, and Yukonot hops, Spring has floral hop aromas amid notes of citrus, tropical fruit, and mixed berries. This one clocks in at 6.5% ABV. And it's just a great time of year when these warm weather beers start coming out. You just wake up in the morning, there's sun shining in the windows right now. But always an exciting thing when Maine comes out with a new IPA. This is the first time we will have this one here in Pittsburgh. As I said, not in draft right now, but should be available in draft at some point here in the near future. Really, the usual suspects should have it on Friday. You know, Liberty Beer, JR's, Save More Beer, Duffy's, Buddy's Brews. If you're not sure if your local store is getting any, make sure and let them know, and they can reach out to us, and we will make sure and get them some ASAP, even on Friday if possible. We're also getting some fresh lunch, which will be on draft, I believe. There'll be some Mo in bottles. Should be a couple others as well. To me personally, lunch is one that never gets old. Always super happy to have this killer beer in the market. We always make a huge effort to get it in fresh. I would think this was brewed within the last 10 days max, so by the time it's hitting the shelves, it's going to be 2 weeks old max. It takes a little bit longer to get it here from Maine. We also make sure we cold ship it. As with a lot of our products, we're just making sure we go the extra lengths, go the extra mile to get the stuff here as fresh as possible and to take care of the product the way it was meant to be taken care of. Cold shipping it, cold storing it. Really doing everything in our power to make sure we're getting the best and freshest product out to you. Excuse me. But really excited to release the Spring coming up this week, and as well as get some fresh lunch and some other stuff from Maine. We are also having another single cut fresh beer Friday. I know this is something we've kind of talked about a bit in the past month or so. We're really going to start pushing these more and more. We have access to incredibly good beer from Single Cut. We have the ability to get it here incredibly fresh, get it into the market incredibly quickly, basically every single week. So we're really going to start taking advantage of that as much as possible and really start pushing it. Start looking for posters up in your beer stores, advertising Fresh Beer Friday, advertising what's fresh this week from Single Cut or this Friday from Single Cut. That way when you go in, you can look for the freshest stuff possible. You're getting the newest, freshest product. So that's something that we're really going to start pushing more on social media and in the accounts. So look for that. This week we have two new ones coming from them. We have the Prague and we have the Metal. Both available for the first time in cans here in Pittsburgh. The Prague is described as We donned our capes and medieval garb to create this double IPA brewed with a mega mix of a new experimental Euro hop and Pacific Northwest varieties. Bright strawberry and gooseberry, sweet grapefruit, and floral pop, 7.7% ABV. I have to admit, I have tried this one on draft. We've had this one on draft. I have not gotten to try it. We've only had it in once. Really excited to try this one. The other one that we are coming out with this week is Metal, one that we have not had in draft or cans previously. It says, bang your hophead. Our genre series continues with this brew, honoring the first generation of classic metal and highlighting new Pacific Northwest hops, which impart a candied, citrus, tangerine, intense peach nectarine, and soft grapefruit aroma. Soft, chewy malt lays down a solid base. Also 7.7%. So a couple of killers coming out this week from Single Cut. Just a side note as we do that, we've been putting up, trying to put up some more video content, kind of reviewing a couple of the beers that come out every week. Kind of reviewing, but also just kind of giving you a sense, letting you see the pour, the flavor notes, the aroma notes, stuff like that. You can always check out that stuff on our YouTube page. Really just trying to get you guys as good a feel as possible for kind of what you're dealing with, what's releasing this week. So you'll probably see these two going up on our video content here in the next week or so. It's like I said, just an awesome opportunity to be able to get stuff that's so fresh and so high quality from Single Cut. So we really want to kind of press that advantage and take advantage as much as possible. So that's what's coming from Single Cut this week. Again, some of the usual suspects where you'll see those at JR's, you'll see those at Liberty Beer, Save More, Buddy's Brews. I can't stress this enough. If you're not seeing stuff like that, whether it's Single Cut fresh beer or Maine or any of the releases we're doing, Rainbow Seeker, anything you're looking for, just definitely make sure and reach out to your local beer store so that we can get that stuff to them. Really not it's a pretty simple fix. It's just a matter of people wanting to get it early on. A couple other ideas we've been throwing around. I know on one of our videos that we posted earlier in the week, and again, I know it's a little bit rough, so give us some time to learn on the video side of things. One of the videos we talked about earlier this week, some new ideas that we have going into the spring as well as into the summer here. We're kind of throwing around the idea of doing a couple of mini fests or releases, trying to get some breweries that maybe don't have enough beer to supply the market on a consistent basis to do a can drop based around an event, maybe pair up a couple of breweries. I know the Veil just did one down in Richmond that I was really interested in. I thought it was a really cool concept. So that's something that we've started to throw around a little bit. Nothing set in stone yet. We are looking at doing one for Memorial Day weekend, maybe having a bigger one there. Also looking at doing some smaller ones for can releases that we get, whether it be stuff like Hoof Hearted, Burley Oak, New Evil Twin stuff, anything like that. So again, as always, feel free to kind of reach out and give us your feedback on what you think of the ideas. I think it would be a little bit easier to get people access to the product early on. I know one of our big things is that when we release something, I know people are really amped to get it, and it can be a little bit hard. As much as we post on social media, it can be a little bit hard to know where you need to go to get it and when. Whether you're chasing it down at the Commoner or Whole Foods or wherever it may be. I feel like this might be an option that gives everybody singular access early on. You know where you need to be, when you need to be there. And I think it'd just be a good time, especially as the weather starts to warm up. So it's some ideas we're tossing around and trying to start to put together. You'd still be able to get the beer other places. We'd still be getting it on tap at other places, on store shelves. But it would be, I think, a cool idea to just get the initial release out there, and everybody who wants a crack at it first would know where to go. But like I said, give us some feedback on what you think about those ideas on social media. I think it'll be a nice way to get, like I said, some breweries in here that maybe don't have the beer to distribute consistently, but that want to bring their beer up to the market and share with it once. And this kind of ties into the thing I've been talking about the last couple of weeks is make sure that you're, talking to these breweries on social media or promoting them or just showing them love in general. Let them know that you're drinking the beer because it really does go a long way in making our market look attractive to other breweries. And even if we can get them up here for a one-day fest, I think that'd be a great thing, not only for the market, but, for the reputation of the market, but to get people able to be drinking the beer. Did get to meet with another potential supplier last week. Those meetings are always really fun. Actually, still a little bit nerve-wracking, despite having done them so many times. But we got to meet with another potential supplier last week, hoping we'll have some news on that in the next week or two. I don't know. We're still waiting to hear. But really just trying to prove the point that we're doing as much as we can to bring great product in and, just grinding, honestly. We'll be announcing another new brewery launch, different brewery obviously, but another new brewery launch about this time next week. That should be on the podcast. Keep an eye out for that. This one should go really well with the warm weather. Sorry, I haven't had any caffeine yet this morning, but it should go well with the warm weather. We're excited to bring another new brewery into Pittsburgh. Off to New York in a little bit over a week as well, meeting with a number of suppliers up there, kind of working on the fest idea I was just talking about, working on some consistent suppliers as well. Really excited. I mean, we really enjoy doing this, and these are the kind of trips that really get your blood pumping. We've really got an opportunity to make some things happen here over the next couple of weeks. So really excited to do that. Not only about bringing more stuff to Pittsburgh, but it's also going to be an opportunity for us to develop some killer content, kind of get our feet wet with some more in-depth video content. We're working on putting some stuff together now, but really trying to get you guys as much of a behind-the-scenes look of the day-to-day and what kind of goes on these trips. So excited about that. Should be a fun trip. A couple other things I wanted to hit on from this week, just in general, just from life in general. One thing, there was that CNBC video that kind of went around. I guess it went viral yesterday about tipping and how much you can save by tipping less. The general feel for the video was just, if you don't tip on tax, look how much you can save. Here's the bottom line on that one. And, I've kind of mentioned this on one of the early episodes, and it's something that if you know me, I continue to harp on and that I tweet about a decent bit. Listen, if you can't afford to tip, don't go out. There's a lot of really good, really hardworking people in the service industry, and if you're going to tip 10 or 12%, I feel sorry for the people that raised you, and you really just shouldn't be going out. Those people are working really hard, and it's just a nice thing to tip appropriately. I'm not saying you got to tip 48%, but if you can't tip 20 or 25% on the post-tax total, it's kind of a shit move. So just thought that was worth mentioning. A little bit of weekly wisdom I saw on Twitter yesterday going in a more positive direction that I thought was awesome that I wanted to share. Quick little, I believe it's a Buddhist story that I'm going to read here real quick. A senior monk and a junior monk were traveling together. At one point, they came to a river with a strong current. As these monks were preparing to cross the river, they saw a very young and beautiful woman also attempting to cross. The young woman asked if they could help her cross to the other side. The two monks glanced at one another because they had taken vows not to touch a woman. Then, without a word, the older monk picked up the woman, carried her across the river, placed her gently on the other side, and carried on his journey. The younger monk could not believe what had just happened. After rejoining his companion, he was speechless, and an hour passed without a word between them. 2 more hours passed, then 3. Finally, the younger monk could contain himself any longer and blurted out, "As monks, we are not permitted to touch a woman. How could you then carry that woman on your shoulders?" The older monk looked at him and replied, "Brother, I set her down on the other side of the river. Why are you still carrying her?" I'll give credit to Aditi Kinkabwala. She reposted that, Steelers writer, obviously. I thought that was a really, really good story on just kind of perspective in general, not carrying things with you. I know that can be tough on a day-to-day basis in life. Easier said than done, but thought that was really cool for the week and worth sharing. One or two other quick things. I was down at Fatheads drinking a Hoof-Hearted Permanent Marker Pen Disguises. I believe that was Monday, which obviously great beer from Hoof-Hearted. But while I was there, had a Headhunter. Just can't beat it. Just a great classic IPA. I think it was one of the first IPAs that I fell in love with. I think the first 1 or 2 IPAs I fell in love with was like Dogfish 60 Minute, Green Flash West Coast IPA. This was probably like 2011, 2012. But man, when I finally tried Headhunter, I'll never forget. Back when my parents were still living in Southern California, they had managed to get, I think, 2 to 4 bottles of Pliny the Elder, and I'd tried it once before, but they got a couple bottles from the local Whole Foods, and I think they shipped them like either next day or 2 day in a refrigerated package from California, and it was back when I had my retail store, and I remember trying it with a guy that I had kind of gotten to know in the industry early on. We sat down. It was the first time he had tried it, and it was an incredible beer. Still is. Pliny the Elder, another one that's just a great original. And he said, he's like, man, this is a great beer, but you know what's pretty good as well, like kind of up there with it, is Fathead's Headhunter. And this was before they packaged it and sold it, and I didn't live in the South Side at the time. And I had been to Fatheads, but I'd never tried the Headhunter. And I remember going down and trying it. And they shortly thereafter released it in bottles. But I remember going down there and trying it and almost having that like religious experience. Just thought it was kind of worth bringing up. I know there's so much new stuff, and we're as big a culprit as anyone, obviously, and just continually pushing the new stuff. But every once in a while, it's nice to go back and try one of those old classics. Just what an incredible beer. Side note on Fatheads, I believe, so obviously the Hoof-Hearted was still on as of Monday. I checked Untappd this morning. Seems like it's still on. They also have the Burley Oak Search and Destroy on tap. So if you're looking for some Hoof-Hearted, if you're looking for some Burley Oak, hit up Fatheads in the South Side, and while you're there, you can have a Headhunter. And just remember, where it kind of all started. I know we always talk about reaching out on social media, and I just continue to beat it into you guys. But there was a guy, let me give him credit here. I'm going to find it on my Twitter. There was a guy that was looking for the Burley Oak double carrot cake dream this past weekend, I want to say. Let me see if I can find it here in my mentions. And, yeah, here we go. So he had, I don't even know how I found it. I guess my dad had seen that he was looking for it. He had said, the bar ran out of he tagged Burley Oak, ran out of Burley Oak double carrot cake dream before I got my hands on one. And I tweeted back at him and said, it will be at Piper's Pub Imperial Breakfast, which we'll kind of gloss over here in a minute. Asked if it was an upcoming event. I said, it's also still on at the Commoner Bar down at Kimpton Hotel. He said, awesome, thanks for the heads up on both of those. And then he went down and actually got some. I believe it was Saturday. Tweeted at me, amazing, thanks for the assists. Love the beer, blah, blah, blah. Checked it in on Untappd. If there's something you're looking for and you really can't find it, I know it's hard. Maybe you're not in an area where it's directly around, or we post as much as we can on social media about where stuff's going to release, when stuff's going to release, where to find it. This stuff usually hangs around a little bit. There's usually some places that don't go through it as quick, or that, some people just aren't aware. There are a couple of places that ask us not to blow it up on social media too hard, just because they don't want crowds and crowds of people running down there. So if you're ever looking for a beer, you're afraid you might have missed it, seriously, reach out to me on social media, if not Steel City. There's a couple people that are on the Steel City account. I'm usually one of them. But feel free to reach out, and we'll make sure that you can track some stuff down. If not, we'll try and at least give you some inside info on when the next batch is coming, or where you can find some other good stuff. Mentioning the Piper's Imperial Breakfast in that tweet, I want to make sure I get the date right here before I say it. Okay, April 17th. It's going to be 9 a.m. To 3 p.m. at Piper's. It used to be part of the now defunct Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week. Pour one out. Not sad to see that one go. Although I think at some point we need to bring it back in a better form. That's a topic for another day. But Piper's Pub, April 17th, Imperial Breakfast. If you've never been, I know it's a Wednesday. A lot of people have work. If you're that into it, maybe worth considering taking the morning off or the day off. I've been before. It's a really well-done event. They're going to have some killer stuff on. Yes, the double carrot cake dream will be on there. It has not been tapped down there. So if you've never been, again, I know it's tough getting down there on a Wednesday, but, for those of you who know beer and know Pittsburgh, Piper's usually does it right with craft beer, and this is something they do extremely well, so worth checking out. I'll try and double check and see what else we're going to have on tap there. I know there's some stuff that's been stashed away, so I'll do my best to kind of get a feel for what's going to be on there. Just to kind of wrap up for this week coming up, We've got the Blake's Rainbow Seeker releasing. We've got the brand new Maine Spring IPA that'll be releasing, along with some fresh lunch. And we're going to start really pushing these single cut fresh beer Fridays, as we've got a couple of great Imperial IPAs coming from them. Should be, again, when you're getting fresh beer Fridays, you're getting stuff that was canned like at the most 4 days ago. So usually like that 2 to 3 day period. If you're a big single cut fan and you like IPAs, how could you not be? It's a great opportunity to get stuff. Even if you're getting a single of each every week, a 4-pack of each every week, while you hit the beer distributor on Friday, pick up a couple fresh single cuts for the weekend. But we'll start pushing that as much as we can. But yeah, just in general, another big week coming up. We've got another big week and some cool stuff to share next week. Couldn't do this without you guys. Like I said, continue to show these breweries love on social media. It helps our efforts so much. Don't forget to follow us on social media, the podcast, Twitter and Instagram. It is Kitchen Table Pod. And you can follow Steel City Beer on Instagram and Twitter as well. Let me get these tags for you. Probably should have had them written down. On Twitter, we are Steel City _beer. And then on Instagram, we are just Steel City Beer. Great way to find out what's releasing every day. We've got another one. I don't know if I talked about this in the pod last week or not. We just got the new version, the first ever variant from Oddside Ales. Their Bean Flicker Blonde, which is a coffee blonde. This one has been made with Hoof Hearted Coffee. So Hoof Hearted kind of has their side project, which is their own coffee. This one was made with Hoof Hearted Coffee. Really killer variant. That one just hit the streets, I think, a couple of days ago. So that kind of stuff is always on our Instagram, always on our Steel City Beer Instagram and Twitter, where you can find stuff. We'll put up displays of stuff, where stuff's at. Really all great stuff. So if you're not following the podcast, at Kitchen Table Pod, if you're not following Steel City Beer, at Steel City Beer, and if you want a direct link to me, as much as I hate putting this out there in some certain instances, at Shane Lohman, that's probably the best way to find our YouTube content right now. We're working on getting, I think we need 100 subscribers before we can really put like a full official page together. But the best way to find me personally, at Shane Lohman, that's ShaneLohman. Feel free to reach out. We will make sure we get you the best stuff as much as possible. Once again, I want to thank all the support and feedback so far. Big week coming up. Enjoy your week. Look for some new video content, and we will see you next week on the podcast.